All right, let's dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book, it's been a financial guide for some, a point of debate for others. We're here to break down what Kiyosaki says about building wealth. And, he really strays from that typical work hard and save money advice.
He kind of turns the tables on that whole idea. Like when he says, rich people acquire assets, the poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. It's a bold statement.
Yeah, it makes you stop and think, is he saying my house, my car, they aren't actually making me richer?
Well, Kiyosaki's focus is on cash flow. An asset, as he defines it, puts money in your pocket. A liability takes it out. That new car, the minute you drive it off the lot, it's losing value, right?
Yeah.
So it's more like a liability disguised as an asset.
Ouch. Here I was thinking my car was an investment. So true assets in Kiyosaki's world. What are some examples he gives?
He talks about things like real estate, stocks, bonds, even intellectual property. Anything that has the potential to bring in income, to grow in value over time. It's not just owning things, but owning things that work for you.
Which leads us to that idea he has, mind your own business. Now, before anyone panics and thinks they need to quit their job tomorrow.
Right. That's not what he means at all. It's more about building up those assets, even while you're still working for someone else. He talks about Ray Kroc, the man behind McDonald's. When asked about his business, Kroc famously said, "My business is real estate." See, he was focused on owning the land under those McDonald's, not just selling burgers.
Smart. It's like he had this long-term vision while everyone else was just focused on the day-to-day. Kiyosaki uses a lot of stories from his own life to illustrate these points, doesn't he?
He does. Like the story about how he and his friend Mike, they started a comic book lending library when they were kids. They saw a need, came up with a creative solution. Even as kids, they were learning to spot opportunities to generate income.
So we're thinking like entrepreneurs here, building assets. But then there's the whole issue of taxes. Not always the most exciting topic, but Kiyosaki tackles it head on. He even compares the way people view taxes to that Robin Hood story, and, well, let's just say Robin Hood isn't exactly his hero.
He definitely has a different perspective. Kiyosaki says that while taxes were maybe originally meant to target the wealthy, historically, it's actually the middle class that's borne the brunt of it. And the rich, he argues, they've figured out how to use corporations to protect their wealth.
Hold on, corporations and taxes. Can you break that down a bit?
Of course. Think of a corporation like a shield, legally protecting your personal assets. It's a separate entity, and one of the advantages is that it's taxed at a lower rate than what you'd pay on your individual income. Kiyosaki's argument is that this is a key strategy the wealthy use to hold on to more of their money.
It's like they're playing chess, and everyone else is playing checkers, thinking several steps ahead, using the rules to their advantage.
Exactly. It all comes down to financial literacy. Kiyosaki's saying, this is a game, these are the rules. Learn them if you want to succeed.
It's like we're suddenly in on this whole other game we didn't even know was happening.
Yeah.
And we need to get up to speed. Honestly, though, even thinking about getting into investing, it can feel kind of overwhelming, right? Like even scary. Kiyosaki talks about fear being a big obstacle, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And he tells this story. It's almost hard to believe. Alexander Graham Bell, the guy who invented the telephone, he actually offered his patent to Western Union for $100,000.
$100,000.
$100,000.
Yeah.
And they said no.
Get out.
They didn't think the telephone was going to go anywhere. Can you imagine the regret they must have felt later on?
Talk about a missed opportunity. It really makes you think about all the times fear holds us back, Yeah. Especially when it comes to money.
That's exactly Kiyosaki's point. He says what seems risky to one person might be a totally calculated move for someone else. It's about what you know, your experience, understanding how to play the game.
So how do we get past that fear? Start taking those calculated risks. Kiyosaki's big on learning, but he's not just talking about, like, reading books, right?
No, he's all about learning by doing.
Yeah.
He actually created this board game, Cash F Flow, to teach these financial concepts in a way that's fun, interactive.
I've heard of cash flow. It's like a simulation of real-life investing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You're buying assets, making financial decisions, seeing how they play out.
Exactly. And Kiyosaki tells this story about a woman who was playing the game, and she got really upset. She had all this stuff, a big house, fancy car, designer clothes, all those doodads, as he calls them. But the game made her realize those things were actually holding her back financially. It was a real wake-up call.
Wow, that's intense. I guess it's like the game gives you a safe space to try things out, make mistakes, learn from them without any real-world consequences.
Exactly. Games can be such powerful learning tools. They give you that immediate feedback, make you question your usual patterns.
Speaking of patterns, Kiyosaki, he made a pretty big change himself, leaving a stable job to kind of forge his own path. That takes guts.
It goes against everything we're usually taught, right?
Right.
But he really stresses how important it is to trust your gut, find your purpose, even if it means stepping outside that comfort zone. He even says emotional and spiritual development, they're just as crucial as financial education.
So it's deeper than just money then.
For sure. It's about taking control of your life, doing what you're passionate about, building a life you actually love. It's financial freedom in the broadest sense.
Which brings us to those practical steps Kiyosaki outlines. 10 steps to financial freedom. We don't have time to get into all of them right now, but some of them are really interesting, like finding a reason that's bigger than just money, being careful about who you surround yourself with, mastering one skill and then moving on to another.
Yeah, they're all valuable.
Yeah.
But if we had to pick just 2 to focus on today, I'd say pay yourself first and choose heroes. They really get at the core of his philosophy.
Okay, pay yourself first. That seems kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it? Don't we have bills to pay, responsibilities?
That's the traditional way of thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
But Kiyosaki, he challenges that. He says you should put investing in your assets first, even if it means those bills might have to wait a little bit. He even talks about letting creditors chase him while he puts his money into investments.
That's bold. It's about shifting your mindset from scarcity to abundance, right? Trusting that those returns will come. What about choose heroes?
It's about the power of having role models. Like how kids look up to athletes or musicians. Kiyosaki says, find those successful investors you admire and study what they do. He learned by analyzing Warren Buffett's investment decisions. It's like having a mentor, even from afar.
So you're learning faster by tapping into the knowledge of people who've already achieved what you want to achieve.
Exactly. Their successes, their failures, even their mistakes, they become valuable lessons for you on your own journey.
It's like we're not just learning new financial strategies, we're like rewiring our brains, you know?
Yeah, it's about recognizing the power we have to change our financial situation. That's a big part of what Kiyosaki's getting at.
He wants people to realize they're not just along for the ride. They can be making these bold moves.
Yeah, and that even setbacks, you can turn them into wins. He actually uses that phrase, turning lemons into millions.
He does love a good metaphor.
He talks about his own experiences with real estate, small cap stocks. He's all about taking calculated risks, seeing wins and losses as learning experiences.
But he's not saying to just gamble recklessly, right? It's about, like you were saying, educating yourself, building those skills, then making informed decisions.
Exactly. He makes this analogy with learning to ride a bike, how you might fall a few times, but you get back on, figure out what went wrong, and eventually you're riding like a pro. That's what financial intelligence is all about.
So it's about having the guts to get started, even if you don't have all the answers right away.
He really wants people to embrace the process, build their knowledge, and then ultimately create a life of abundance on their own terms.
It's no wonder this book's been so popular for so long. It's a wake-up call, a challenge, and it gives you a place to start, all in one.
Yeah, and even if you don't agree with every single thing Kiyosaki says, you can't deny the impact he's had. He makes you think about your own relationship with money, question what you think you know, and take a more active role in your financial future.
He has that famous quote, "Money is only an idea."
Right. If you're ready to change your financial situation, it starts with changing how you think about money.
So develop that financial intelligence, take those first steps, even if they're small. Who knows, maybe you'll turn those lemons into lemonade. Or, like Kiyosaki, maybe even millions.
Love it.
Thanks for diving into Rich Dad, Poor Dad with us. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the limits of what's possible.